I enjoy this trail. It's here for all of us to enjoy, and today I'm enjoying it on something special. Regular viewers are going to know exactly what this is, and it was in the background on a couple of recent videos. People started asking me, what is that? It's been enough time since I made it that I've kind of forgotten a lot of this, so I'm rediscovering, so let's go back over this. This is from Mongoose. It's the Durham, a 26-inch bike that's $248 from Walmart. I don't even know that they still sell them. I'll have to look up, but I have done a lot to this bike. As a matter of fact, I'll just start out and say, what's factory that's left on this bike? Well, that would be the frame. Okay, so three things are going to be factory: the seat post clamp, a couple of sections of cable housing, and this frame. Everything else modified. And people ask, well, why? When all that's left is a frame, do you even do this? Well, why not? When it ends up with something that looks like this. I absolutely adore this. I think it's my best looking build bike. It's just an eye catcher. Every time I've had this on the trail, which admittedly it's only 2 or 3 times, but I did loan it out to a buddy that rode it a couple of times. And from what I understand, even with him, every time it's on the trail, people stop and want to know, what is that? And it's a build that just came together because I didn't plan all this. It started out, if I remember properly, with just these. I caught these Zoom hydraulic disc brakes in this gold color on sale somewhere. I don't know if it was Amazon or one of the few times I've ordered from AliExpress, which also is another component on this bike, something from AliExpress. But I caught these super cheap. They were gold, and I just sort of stuck them back thinking one day there will be something that they go on. And then things started happening. I don't know if I found the fork or the wheel set first, but I bought the wheel set, I bought the fork all individually with no plans for this bike. Even these brake rotors. Look, let's just start up top. Since it's been so long, and I'll put down in the description my original review of this bike and my build, but I do understand I have over 600 videos. It's hard to wade through that sometimes. So let me just go back over this. It's worthy of it at the very least. And we'll start up top here with these bars. This is going to be a theme. Road NATO, because I was on a Road NATO kick when it got around to build time for this. Actually, I think I might have had these bars as well and didn't particularly buy them for this build. They're Road NATO bars. They're 31.8 diameter. It's the Freedom Series Road NATO. Those are connected to a Road NATO stem. It's a nice short stem. I like that when it comes to mountain bikes. Short stems rather than the long protruding ones. And you can see instantly the double crown fork. Probably one of the signature features of this bike. It's an air fork, and you can see that double crown again. And look at those gold spacers. I tried to pay attention to detail here. The gold, the red, the black, that was the overall theme. This fork is a Himalo, however you want to say it. I'm going to say Himalo, and it has the Himalo brand all over it. The model, I think, is a DB9 or a D89. I'm not even sure what that says. All I know is I purchased this for, I believe, around 200 bucks. And then just waited, like I said. And this is the bike it ended up on, and wow, what a perfect mating. DBC Stage AM. And look at that, even the rebound adjuster is red to go with the theme, gold, red, and black. And I can't even remember how much travel this fork has, but I think it's not as much as it initially visually looks. I'll find out, try to put that on your screen as well, but that gold leads to the other gold, the other standout feature, and that's these wheels, double wall alloy, Meijun brand. I'll jump to the back here really quick just to show you, even the hubs, Meijun branded, and they are gold as well, as are the spokes. I mean, just look at that. How good this looks, blending into the fork. Absolutely perfect. There's something else perfect on this bike, at least for me, and that's these tires. These are WTB Vigilantes, but it's the size. 26 inch, 26 by 2.3. And in the 26er world, that's a nice wide tire. And to show you how little this has actually been ridden, I mean, look at that. Still has the nibbins, I believe was the official term for these. Funny side note about those, I have other bikes that I have ridden extensively out here on the trails, and people will spot just a couple of little knobbies or niblets, nibbins, whatever they are, and say, you haven't ridden this bike at all. You would be amazed how much you can ride a bike on dirt paths before some of this stuff starts wearing down. My Project Comp V2, I don't even know that on this area there's still not some of these nibbin things. Not this much, but it is funny the contrast between this front tire and the wear on the rear tire, which have been ridden the exact same amount on the exact same trails, but that's just the way it is. What I'm getting at here, this is still pretty new. It's only been ridden a few times, not because I don't like it, just because I've been riding other bikes, and this is more a showcase bike. Initially, I was going to donate this. Then I decided, no, I like this. It just looks so good. So that's the bars, that's the brakes, that's the fork, that's the wheels. Shifter, a micro shift Acolyte, and I take that back. I might not have purchased this group set back here from AliExpress. I don't remember. I remember purchasing an L2 from AliExpress, but this is a micro shift Acolyte, a good trigger shifter. Can't remember the shifter that the Durham initially came with, but this definitely works well as far as the ease of reach when it comes to shifting. And also on the bars are these grips. Every time I've ever shown these, I've used them a few times, people ask, what are these? Because they have an octagon shape, which you wouldn't think would be comfortable, but it ends up, these are really, really comfortable grips. I need to buy more of these. The brand is U4. U4 grips, haven't even seen these in a while. I need to look and see if they're still available, and if so, I need to get some black and silver ones for some upcoming stuff. But my buddy that rode this bike, he instantly said, I'm gonna get these grips. I want them. And he's been riding them ever since, at least on one of his bikes, as far as I understand. They're good grips, and his wore quite well. These knobs didn't wear down quick. He rides a lot. Let's go from Roadnado to Roadnado with this saddle. This is a very attractive saddle. Also something that I just purchased as far as I remember. It's called the Roadnado EVA. It has the relief groove. It has the Roadnado R. This is not textured. Well, it kind of is a texture, but it's just that screen printed texture. And so far it hasn't worn down. There's a little bit of red trim here that kind of goes with the whole red, black, and gold, even though there's no gold up here. But this saddle is very thin. Thin looks super cool. And you can see, definitely a standout look here. But I will tell you, having ridden this up the trail in standard shorts, not biking shorts with any padding, this is not a comfortable saddle. It's a good looking saddle, so factor that in if you're thinking about any of these parts. Roadnado EVA, it's a looker, a little rough to ride on. I mated that to another part that I just came across. They had this on clearance at the local bike shop, a Bontrager seat post. A good mating here. The original seat post, as far as I remember, was steel. So this alloy seat post, a lot lighter. I could have probably shaved a half an ounce if I went with a different quick release clamp, if in fact this is the original, which I assume that it is. But this one's okay. Anything that works, especially when you're putting things together based on parts that you just have laying around. Although there are a couple of parts that I did buy specifically for this build, and that's going to get us to this group set. Because Roadnado, well, there's another Roadnado, and that's these cranks. Roadnado RI, which look very familiar if you are fans of the IXF. Actually, no, they're a little bit unique now that I look at them. This design here is not IXF looking, but this is. It has those cutouts. And the chain ring sits behind them, at least when you're on this small of a chain ring, and that presents an opportunity for some gold accents, because what people don't realize is any of these IXF style cranksets that have those cutouts, those are made, or they make, these little things here, these little caps that you can put on that cover those up, and it did that with this bike. Now surprisingly, these are kind of heavy. They're a little bit heavy. I mean, not super heavy, but when you're shaving grams, right, any little bit matters. And these do add weight, but wow, they do look good, especially, you know, the gold thing. I couldn't find any Roadnado pedals, so for this bike, I used something else that I came across budget-wise, and that's Roost. And these are nice free spinning pedals. They have good mountain bike posts there. Yeah, so far, so good. Not a lot of riding, but so far, so good on these very budget Roost pedals. At the very least, it's an R to go with the Roadnado R. Chainring is a Corky. This is a Corky, that 104 BCD's the bolt circle diameter. I believe this is a 32 tooth. Yeah, this is a 32 tooth. Normally, I like a 30 tooth for ease of pedaling, but I was buying actually, I was on a Corky binge too, right around the time that I was on a Roadnado binge, and I think this was just left over because I couldn't find a Roadnado chain ring. So Corky to Roadnado, but the 32 tooth comes into play when it comes to the easy pedaling, because a 30 would be a little easier, but 32's okay. But it means I'm gonna need a larger cassette back here. And yes, with this wheel set, this Meijun wheel set, those Meijun hubs, that is a free hub. So I was able to convert this to a cassette. Part of this rear group set that the central feature of is this Acolyte, and it's an Acolyte with a clutch. And I can't press on this to show you, but it creates resistance that keeps chain slap down. Have to be very careful because you can see just how little I have supporting this entire bike, pedal on a rock. But along with this microshift Acolyte and the clutch is the cassette. And this cassette, I'll put links to down in the description. Now note, those are affiliate links, most of them. At least the parts that I can link to. I don't even know that they still make this Bontrager seat post. But I'll put links to anything that I can find down in the description, and the tooth count for this cassette. But I think that that's about a 46 tooth maybe. But whatever this is, it's enough to not completely wear me out climbing up a hill. And you know, if you watch this channel, I'm a famed hill climb complainer. That's why I ride an e-mountain bike a lot when it's on group rides, to climb hills without holding everybody up. This gives me just enough range, but I can tell you I would like to have a 30 tooth up here, because I will sacrifice ease on the climb for speed. But this is a good mix, I'll say, especially when you're budget shopping, because sometimes you just have to make those decisions. This nice lightweight aluminum frame, this Durham branding, or this Mongoose Durham. There's one bad thing about this frame, and the frame size, this is kind of on the smaller side. But there's one bad thing about this. When it comes to aluminum frames, there's a thing back here called a derailleur hanger. This one is made onto the frame. No longer 21 speed, probably need to peel this. Oh, can't peel that off. So maybe I need to cover that up. But usually on an aluminum frame, you have a replaceable derailleur hanger, because that's something that can get bent in riding, and can get bent specifically in shipping a lot. And when you have an aluminum frame and a hanger built in, look, aluminum is not meant to be bent and then bent back. So if that happens to get bent and you bend it back, it's weakened. And every time after that, it's weakened even more. That is not a good thing. This normally is what I would consider a disposable frame. You ride it until there's a problem here, and then you discard it. And that's why initially when I got this bike, I was just going to review it and then get rid of it. But I decided, since the gold thing happened and it just came together, even though that is one of my main no-nos. But being 26-inch wheels, you just don't run into that often anymore. And my first mountain bike was a 26er. I rode it on these trails years and years and years and years ago. And when you grow up riding a specific wheel size, it's kind of some muscle memory, or at least some confidence that comes with sitting so low. And 26, or anytime I'm on a 26-inch wheel bike out here at Wildwood or any trail, it's just fun. It is absolute fun. You're so low, the center of gravity is down. Makes for a good ride. Now, I will say, I've also become addicted to dropper posts recently, especially going downhill because you can really get low with the dropper post. This obviously does not have that, and there's no provisioning for it. If there were a bike that I would say an externally routed dropper post would be a good addition for, it would be this one, especially since there are bosses here that I could tie to get the cabling, and yes, I probably need to pull that in and zip tie it a second time here. But for now, it's gonna be floppy like that. This may be a candidate for a dropper. I'll have to consider that. I just don't ride it that much. Like I said, just a few times. It's more eye candy for me. I've even thought about letting someone else be somebody that enjoys it. But how could you part? Could you part with this? And it gets even better. This Roadnado crank set came with an external bearing bottom bracket. How about that for an upgrade? I just noticed a warning sticker I never took off these wheels. Yeah, it's still that new. And look at this, the gold to gold. These gold brakes move down to the gold quick release, but there is the gold calipers for the zoom and the gold floating rotors. How about that? Very, very nice. Sometimes things just come together, and this bike certainly did. Also, the new wheel set with these gold quick release converted the rear to quick release. Actually, I think from the factory, even the front wheel was a bolt-on back when it was in stock form, but now it's quick release, both front and rear, and even those are gold. And I'm not done with the upgrades just yet, because I found one thing that I didn't do that I intended on, and that is put on gold valve stem caps. I set these aside a long time ago and then forgot about them. You get this one on here and move this camera up and show you, this is a curiosity here. The hubs and the spokes, all part of this wheel set, are a different color, but it totally works. And what it does is ties anything else that's a slightly different color gold in with one another. Look at that. Looks better than the cheap black ones, the little plastic ones, right? Okay, I might be swapping one of these because it turns out that one's sort of orange. This one, definitely gold. Just have to find the other gold. I stuffed them all in a pack. Think I got them mixed up, but it looks good. And that's my update. What do you think? I think possibly my best looking build, a beautiful, beautiful bike, fun to ride. Now, I will tell you, on top of the roughness of this very thin saddle, is that 26-inch wheels, you're basically having to pedal more because this is going around so quick and only traveling so far versus the larger 29-inch wheel. So that's a little extra effort, but also the ride up, I really noticed just a rougher ride. There's just not as much, I mean, there's so much beef to a 29er. At least it's the only thing I can think, because every time I've ridden a 26 right here, as much fun as I have on them, it does feel a little rougher than a 29er. I don't really have a technical answer. I just know that it is a little rougher than riding on a 29. Maybe someone can answer why. Possibly less rubber would be my guess. That's my update and an answer for the people that wanted to know, what is that bike with all the gold? It's my modified Mongoose Durham 26. Just parts that came together to make one looker of a bike. And now I get the fun of riding it down the trail. Comment below with your thoughts on this bike, awesome or not. Let me hear it. Thanks for watching and have a great day.